So this is our second session for this week, and this is the judge portion. We're going to take that experience of everything we looked and saw about that whole service and me and other people. We're going to take that and put it in the equation of the scriptures. So last time we talked about feeling empty and dealing with anticipation. And this moment in Jesus's life is getting real close to that. It talks about a supper. We remember it as the Last Supper. So here goes the scriptures. So during the supper, fully aware that the Father had put everything into his power, and he had come from God and was returning to God, Jesus rose from the supper. And he took off his outer garments, and he took a towel, and he tied it around his waist. And then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and dry them with a towel around his waist. Now, if you've heard me talk about this before, I've shared the story more than once in our parish. Jesus has decided to do the least appealing chore that anybody could think of at that time. See, when people traveled back then, they would walk on long, dusty roads in sandals. And when they got to the final destination, their feet were pretty dirty. If any of you have been hiking for a long time, then you know that we're talking not only about dirty, but stinky. Being more than a dirty chore, at that time period, if it was a chore, it was assigned to the lowest slave of the household, okay, or the youngest kid in the household. And having your slave wash the feet of your guests was super important to demonstrate hospitality and to make your guest feel welcomed. Jesus' actions were so striking to his disciples that one of them, Simon Peter, tries to stop Jesus from washing his feet. This is what the text says. Jesus came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Master, are you going to wash my feet?" See, Jesus seems to think this foot washing thing is a pretty big deal. He wants his disciples to have a first-hand or first foot experience of seeing that their teacher has become a servant. So Jesus goes on to say, and Jesus answers him and says, "What I'm doing, you don't understand now, but you'll understand later." Peter says to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answers him and says, "Unless I wash you, you will have no inheritance with me. No inheritance, no promise of the kingdom, no promise of heaven." Simon Peter says, "Then Master, then not only my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus says to him, "Whoever is bathed has no need to have his feet washed, for he's clean all over. And so you are clean, but not all." When he said not all, he knew that one of them was going to betray him. Remember Judas? And for this reason, he said, "Not all of you are clean." So when he washed their feet and put his garments back on and reclined at the table, he says, "Do you realize what I've done for you? You call me teacher and master, and rightly so. I am. But if I, therefore, the master and the teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash one another's feet." Because Jesus says, "I've given you a model to follow, so that what I've done for you, you should also do." See, this is interesting. Jesus has set up an amazing example of faithful discipleship. He basically says, if I've been a servant to you, if you somehow benefited from my love, if you call me Master and Lord, then you should do as I do. You should serve as I serve. You should love as I have loved you. Jesus says, "Amen, amen, I say to you, no slave is greater than his master, and no messenger is greater than the one who has sent him. If you understand this, blessed are you if you do it." In a world where we often get stuck, in a world where we don't know what to do next, lots of times that challenge is because we're so focused in on and so wrapped into me. And if we could get unstuck and focus in on the greater world, it might bring new possibilities, new horizons. In a world where we often get stuck and when we get focused on me, we benefit from looking broader and beyond ourselves, and not only worry about our love, but our love towards others. Not only worry about people taking care of me and serving me, but how we might serve others. Sometimes that seems awkward and uncomfortable. It seems like washing feet. How can our service take us beyond me? When you think about service, what are our concerns about awkwardness and uncomfortableness? And how can we overcome those? Those are things for you to think about. Those are things for you to talk about and discuss. Come on back. We'll talk about action next.